Most people go their entire lives thinking their personality is just who they are. They say things like, "I've always been like this," or "That's just how I handle things." But what if that's not true? What if the version of you that you call your personality is actually something you've built to survive? What if it's not who you are, it's who you had to become? That doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're fake. It means your mind did what it had to do to protect you. But the problem is, what once protected you might now be holding you back. And if you don't look at it, really look at it, you might spend your entire life calling your defenses personality and never realize you've outgrown them. Let's break this down. When we're young, we don't have much control. We're dependent on the adults around us, on the environments we grow up in, on forces we don't fully understand. And because we're so dependent, we become incredibly good at adapting. We look around, we pay attention, we adjust. Not consciously, but instinctively. We learn what keeps us safe, physically, emotionally, socially, and we do more of that. We learn what puts us in danger and we avoid it. That's what childhood is, a series of unconscious experiments in survival. So if you grew up in a house where anger was unpredictable, maybe you learned to be invisible. You stayed quiet. You avoided conflict. You became the easy child, the peacemaker. Now you call yourself chill or go with the flow. If you grew up being shamed for your emotions, you might have learned to hide them, bury them, numb them. Now you say things like, "I don't really get emotional," or "I'm just a logical person." If love was inconsistent, given when you were good, withheld when you weren't, you probably became a master at reading the room. You learned how to perform, how to please, how to earn approval. Now, you say you're a perfectionist or a high achiever, and all of that makes sense. It's not random, it's not pathological, it's adaptive. But here's the thing, adaptation is supposed to be temporary. It's supposed to get you through the hard part. But when the adaptation becomes the default, when it fuses with your sense of identity, that's when it starts to limit you. Because the truth is, your personality isn't fixed. It's fluid, it evolves, it adjusts, and if you never stop to ask why you are the way you are, you might keep repeating patterns that no longer serve you. Patterns that were built for survival, not for connection, not for joy, not for growth. Think about the kid who had to be perfect. Maybe they were praised every time they did well in school or criticized the moment they slipped up. Over time, they learned that love was conditional, that approval had to be earned, that success equaled safety. So they became exceptional. They achieved, they impressed, they learned to tie their self-worth to productivity. And now they're an adult who can't rest, who feels guilty doing nothing, who burns out every 6 months, who silently panics when they make a mistake because it feels like they're not just failing at a task, they're failing as a person. Or maybe you were the caretaker. Maybe you were the one everyone leaned on, the one who held it together when the adults didn't, the one who made sure everyone else was okay even when you weren't. And now, you're the friend everyone counts on, the partner who gives and gives, the employee who takes on too much. You call yourself dependable, but deep down, you're exhausted. You feel invisible. You feel like you can never stop being strong because if you do, everything will fall apart. And maybe people will stop loving you. This is how trauma hides. Not in the obvious wounds, but in the roles we take on, in the behaviors we normalize, in the identities we cling to because they once kept us safe. You say you're independent, but maybe you're scared to rely on anyone. You say you're easygoing, but maybe you're scared of conflict. You say you're always in control, but maybe you've just never felt safe letting go. We don't notice these patterns because they're familiar. They feel like just me, but often they're not you. They're who you had to be, and that's not your fault. The real tragedy isn't that we had to adapt, it's that we learned to call those adaptations truth, that we built our lives around them, that we stopped questioning whether they still make sense. So what do? The first step is awareness. You have to start seeing your patterns, not judging them, not shaming them, just seeing them. Get curious. Start asking questions like, what did I have to suppress to stay safe? What was I praised for and what was I punished for? When did I start believing I had to earn love? Sometimes the answers will come quickly. Sometimes they'll come slowly over years. But the point isn't to rush. The point is to notice. Because once you see a pattern, you can choose whether or not to keep it. Let's say you realize you have a habit of avoiding confrontation. You've always told yourself, I just hate drama. But now you're starting to wonder, what if that's not the whole story? What if you learned to fear confrontation because when you were young, it always led to something scary? Yelling, rejection, cold silence. What if, deep down, you believe that if you upset someone, they'll leave? Suddenly, it's not about drama anymore, it's about survival. And now, as an adult, you have a choice. You can keep avoiding conflict, or you can start gently practicing the opposite. You can speak up, even when it's scary. You can tolerate the discomfort of not being liked all the time. You can learn that disagreement doesn't always mean danger. That's what healing looks like, not fixing, not erasing, just choosing again. Choosing who you want to be, now that you're not surviving, you're living. Another example, maybe you've always seen yourself as low maintenance. You don't ask for much. You're easy. You pride yourself on being independent, but deep down, you're lonely. You feel disconnected. You wish someone would just see you without you having to explain. That's a clue, because truly secure people don't have to minimize their needs to feel safe. So maybe it's time to start honoring those needs. To let yourself be inconvenient. To say, actually, I do want support. I do want to be checked on. I do want to feel chosen. And when that feels terrifying, when your chest tightens and your mind starts saying, don't do it, it's not worth it, remind yourself that fear isn't about now. It's about then. It's about a younger version of you who learned it wasn't safe to need anything. And now you get to teach that part of you a new story. You get to show them what safety feels like, what rest feels like, what connection without performance feels like. And it's not easy. Sometimes your nervous system will push back. You'll want to run. You'll want to retreat into what's familiar. You'll think this is too much, but healing is too much. That's how it works. It stretches the edges of who you thought you had to be and makes room for who you really are. You'll have days where you mess up, where you fall back into old roles, where you over-explain yourself, where you shut down instead of speaking up, where you apologize for existing. And that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. It means you're in process. It means you're learning something your body never got to learn before, that you're allowed to just be. This work is slow, it's uncomfortable, it's messy. You'll doubt yourself, you'll want to give up. That's normal. Because you're not just changing behavior, you're changing belief systems. You're challenging identities that have been reinforced for decades. But you can do it, not all at once, not perfectly, but steadily. Start small, practice asking for help, practice saying no, practice showing up messy, practice letting someone in even if your voice shakes. These aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of growth. It might feel like you're breaking down, but you're not. You're breaking out of the roles that once kept you safe, out of the expectations that became chains, out of the story that told you your value was something you had to earn. And here's the truth no one tells you, the real you, the you beneath the performance, the armor, the roles, is still there. They've been waiting for safety, waiting for permission, waiting for you. So if this resonates, if you're realizing that your personality might be more about protection than expression, know this, you're not alone. So many of us are walking around with identities built on survival, and it's not until we feel safe, truly safe, that we realize how much of ourselves we've never met. You don't have to stay in those old patterns. You can be more than what you had to become. You can be joyful, expressive, soft, messy, complicated. You can be new over and over again. But it starts with the question, is this really me, or is this who I had to be? Ask it gently, listen carefully, and let the answers change you. Because you deserve more than survival. You deserve a life that feels like yours. And it's never too late to find your way back to yourself.